Hello, hello, hello. Nope, I don't like that one either. I'm still trying to figure out what to do for my intro. Not gonna do that one again. Anyway, um, hello everybody. It's time for Radish's Movie Club episode 5. We got a good slate of movies to talk about today. As you can see by the title, where I said the greatest musicians of all time, we're gonna talk about biopics, which is like biography movies about three of the greatest musicians of all time. So we got the movie Elvis, which came out this year, about Elvis, obviously. Bohemian Rhapsody, which is about um, Queen, of course, came out a couple years ago, and Rocketman, about Elton John, which also came out a couple years ago. So I got my Rolling Stones shirt on um, to since we're talking about bands. I actually only know like one song by the Rolling Stones, which is Paint It Black. Um, I'm actually like the worst person when it comes to identifying bands or like artists of songs. My roommate's really good at it, and he's always asking me whenever a song comes on, he's like, "Who sings this?" And I have to like think really hard about it because I am just terrible at remembering. Obviously, I know the greatest hits of these musicians. I don't think I can name any by Elvis, honestly, actually. But Queen, of course, I know. Bohemian Rhapsody, Killer Queen, We Are the Champions. Um, We Will Rock You, all that. And then Elton John, of course, I know Rocket Man, I'm Still Standing, Candle in the Wind, Tiny Dancer, or is it called Hold Me Closer? Whatever. So I know some songs, but that's really it. But anyway, so oh, why is it? Okay, sorry. Um, so if you haven't been to Radish's Movie Club before, I always just play Fall Guys while I talk about these movies, so you have something to look at while I'm discussing the films, and it's not just my face the whole time. So I'm opening Fall Guys right now, and I'll get started. Um, it is loading and taking a while. Oh, there it goes. Okay. Also, I forgot to mention where, besides those three movies, we're going to talk about the Blade Runner movies. Blade Runner from 1982 and Blade Runner 2049, which came out in 2017. I watched those recently, so I wanted to talk about those. Um, so yeah, we got these five movies. And anything else you guys want to talk about, if anyone wants to chime in to the conversation, just, talk and chat, and I will answer you. Um, and yeah, that is it. It's downloading content. I only go on Fall Guys once a week when I stream. Okay, it should be good now. Yep, there we go. All right, cool. So, as you can see at the bottom left corner, we're going to start by talking about Elvis. Um, this movie came out in June of 2022. That's when I saw it. I saw it in theaters. I actually went to see it with my grandma. Just me and her. It was a date with my grandmother. Yes. She grew up with Elvis. I think. Yeah. Basically, yeah. She grew up with Elvis. Um, so she loves him. He's probably her favorite. He was her favorite singer. She actually used to tell us when we were kids that she dated Elvis, like Elvis was her boyfriend, and we didn't really believe her. Um, I still don't believe her, but she insists. So, I don't know. What do you guys think? You think my grandma dated Elvis? She wasn't in the movie, so obviously she didn't. But speaking of the movie, um, it was pretty good. Since I'm not a huge Elvis fan, I didn't love it. But I'm actually going to say that about all three of these musical biopics that we're going to talk about today. I'm not a huge Elvis fan. I'm not a huge Queen fan. I'm not a huge Elton John fan. So I enjoy the movies because I like their music, I like their hits at least. But they're nothing like that I go crazy over. Like the only one I saw in theaters was Elvis. I didn't see Bohemian Rhapsody or Rocketman in theaters because I didn't really care to at the time. That was also before I like really got into movies, but I don't think even if they did come out today, I don't think I would have cared too much to see them in theaters just because, not a huge, not a super fan of any of these bands, but obviously they're, the greatest, some of the greatest musicians of all time. So the movie was big, so I wanted to go see it anyway. Talking about Elvis, the main thing I noticed about Elvis is how um, exhilarating the editing is. It it's so fast paced the whole time, the whole like 2.5 hours or however long it is. I think it's a bit longer than that, honestly. Um, the editing just goes really fast, quick cuts, lots of effects, lots of just very exhilarating, as I said. And it keeps up the energy too. It makes the energy very like an infectious, I guess I should say. Like I could feel the energy coming off the screen. Um, oh shoot, I forgot. I always forget to like explain what the movie's about. I mean, I guess you kind of know. It's about Elvis and his life, basically, his career, um, his rise and fall, and yeah. So yeah, but yeah, the editing is really good. Um, and usually editing isn't something you notice in movies because it's not supposed to be noticed. If it's good editing, you're not really supposed to notice it. But this editing was like so good that like it was very noticeable. And I think it should probably be nominated for best editing at the Oscars this year. I would kind of be surprised if it wasn't. So yeah, editing was really good. Austin Butler was the actor who played Elvis, by the way, and his performance was honestly incredible. I mean, obviously I didn't grow up with Elvis, so I don't really know what he was like, but my grandma did, and she told me he was actually a pretty convincing Elvis. Um, she said he did a good job. So props to him. That's the thing I noticed with all three of these musical biopics. The main actor just does a really good job in all of them. Um, so yeah, Austin Butler was really good, and then the guy who played his manager, who it's like a lot of people say his manager is the one who killed him in a indirect way. Tom Hanks played his manager. They called his manager the Colonel. He was a German or maybe Dutch. I don't really remember. I think it's German. Um, but he moved to America, and he's kind of a shady character. But he and Elvis kind of had like a father-son-ish relationship. Um, and Tom Hanks did a really good job too. But I did not like his accent that he used in the movie. I mean, I got used to it eventually, but he uses a really heavy accent in the film, and it's sometimes almost hard to understand what he's saying. Um, and it gets kind of annoying sometimes. And I guess I understand because his character is German or whatever. But then I asked my roommate about it, and he was like, "Yeah, in all the videos I've seen of the Colonel, he doesn't seem to have an accent really." I don't know if that's true or not. That's just what he said. Um, so, oh, I didn't turn on desktop audio. Not that it matters. It's just Fall Guys. Anyway, um, so yeah, I just didn't like his accent. He should have just, I don't know, he should have toned it down a little or something. Don't really know. Um, but yeah, both those actors are the two main actors, and they do a really good job. All the other actors are pretty good too, but those two really stand out: Austin Butler and Tom Hanks. Um, fun fact: I saw this on the internet. Austin Butler auditioned for the role of Rooster in Top Gun Maverick, and Miles Teller, who played Rooster in Top Gun Maverick, auditioned for the role of Elvis in Elvis. And they both lost those roles and got the ones that they currently have. And I'm glad that they got those roles because I don't think I can see Miles Teller playing Elvis. And I maybe could see Austin Butler playing Rooster, but I think both of them did a really good job in the movies that they were in, so I'm glad that it worked out that way. Maybe they're not were glad, maybe Miles Teller would have rather played Elvis. I don't know. But I'm glad that they played who they did play. Um, anyway, so yeah, as I said, the energy is infectious in the movie. The concert scenes that they do, there's a lot of concert scenes in the movie because, he's a musician, so he plays in concerts. They're all really fun to watch. I can feel the energy emanating from these scenes is great. Made me want to get up and start dancing, you know. Um, and just Butler's acting slash the editing combined and the music playing, all that together just made the concert scenes just really, really fun to watch. Um, and it's Elvis. He's the king of pop, king of rock, something like that. I don't really know. So his songs are good. I wouldn't listen to them like in my spare time, I don't think, but in the movie, I enjoyed listening to them. So yeah, good concert scenes, and then the visuals in this movie are also really good. Besides just the editing, just like the cinematography, the colors that they use, it's all really nice to look at. And so the movie itself is just well crafted, everything together, just makes it an enjoyable watch. Um, Only problem is it's a bit too long, I think. I said earlier it's about 2 hours and 45 minutes or something like that. Um, which I get why they had to make it long because it's Elvis's entire life, like the movie's his whole lifetime. Well, not his whole lifetime, but like the majority of his lifetime. Um, so I get why they had to make it long so they could fit everything in there. But I feel like some of the scenes go on a bit too long and could have been cut out. Um, Alvin says it should be 4 hours. Do you like Elvis, Alvin? Because I enjoy his songs, but um, I still feel like the movie is just too long. 4 hours is way too long for a movie. I watched this Zack Snyder's Justice League, which is 4 hours, and it was way too long. My friends and I had to watch it in parts. No, I haven't even seen it. Okay, well, I don't know why you think it should be 4 hours then. But yeah, movie's too long. And even though the editing in the movie is really fast-paced, um, it some of it is just it still feels kind of boring and slow at times. All I know is that Doja has a song in it. LOL. Oh yeah, she did write a song. I don't remember which one it is. It's kind of weird that they have a Doja Cat song in a Elvis movie. I guess maybe they have similar vibes in the genres that they sing or sang in Elvis's case. But I don't know. It was a good song, I remember. I don't remember what it sounded like, but I remember enjoying it. All the songs in the movie were good. Because it's Elvis. Was there anything else about Elvis I wanted to talk about? Not that I can remember at the moment. After I talk about these 3 musical biopics, I do want to talk about like all the similarities and differences between all 3 of them because there are quite a lot of similarities I noticed. Not just in the movies, but in like the musicians' lives. So once we get through all 3 of these, we can talk about those similarities. But I think that's all I have to talk about Elvis individually. It's a enjoyable watch, I would say. I don't think I would recommend watching it in theaters if you are not like an Elvis super fan. I also think actually it might be out of theaters by now. It came out in June, and it's August right now. It might still be in a couple theaters, but I would wait until it's streaming. Is it Warner Bros? I don't remember which company distributed this movie, so I don't know what streaming service it will be on. But you can always pirate it. Just kidding. I do not condone pirating movies, since I'm live and not allowed to encourage crime. Anyway, so yeah, that's all about Elvis. Let's move on to Rocketman, which I think is the next one on this list. I pressed the button, but I don't know if it switched because I'm looking at my stream, which is behind. I really should get a second monitor. Okay, there it is, Rocketman. Cool. So Rocketman is a biopic about Elton John, who, oh, you know what? Well, yeah, I'll talk about it later. Elton John, who is another famous musician, who sang rock slash pop songs. Maybe not rock. Was he rock? I don't really know. I don't know music genres. I'm not musically inclined, but his songs are good. Anyway, so it's basically just about his career, um, his very um, illustrious career as Elton John. That was not his name, his birth name. His birth name was Reggie Dwight. But it's starring what's his name? Taron Egerton. Taron, I don't know how to pronounce that. Starring him as Elton John, and then Richard Madden is in it as his manager, and then there's some other people that I don't remember the names of. But um, this movie is also pretty good. I think this is my favorite of the three musical biopics that I'm going to talk about, because this movie is more of a musical. Like they're all about musicians, and they all have the songs playing in them. But in both Elvis and Bohemian Rhapsody, which is the next movie I'm going to talk about, in those movies, the songs that play is just like the band in the band slash musicians in the movies, like playing them in concert or something. But in Rocketman, the songs play out in like scenes, and it plays out like a musical. Um, like there's big song and dance numbers with Elton John songs, which I am a fan of. I actually really like musicals. I used to be in theater back in the day, sort of. Not really, but I used to like theater back in the day. So anytime I see a musical on the screen, I most of the time enjoy it, unless it's bad. I don't know if I've really seen any bad musicals. Um, I don't really watch a lot of musicals, but the ones I have seen, I've enjoyed. So Rocketman, yeah, is definitely more of a musical in the sense that the songs, like the characters in the movies, sing the songs, um, not just in concert, but like throughout the plot. Um, and I know a lot more Elton John songs than I do Elvis songs, so I recognize more of the songs that were playing. Um, Tiny Dancer, uh, Rocketman, of course, Candle in the Wind. Well, I guess they didn't do a musical number for that one. I'm Still Standing. Um, some other songs that I don't remember. Oh, Crocodile Rock. That one was really fun to watch. Um, all the musical numbers are really fun to watch, honestly. And it's definitely the best part of the movie. Um, Taron, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Egerton was also put on a fantastic performance as Elton John, um, on par with Austin Butler's performances as Elvis, and also on par with Rami Malek's performance as Freddie Mercury. All three of these actors do great jobs as their characters, which were real people. I didn't. Well, Elton John is still alive today, but I don't really follow him much in real life, so I don't really know if Taron's performance is accurate, but it seems like it is. Um, and I didn't hear anything about uh, Elton John hating the movie or anything, so I'm guessing he liked it. I don't know. Maybe I should have looked that up. um, but yeah, Taron's performance is really good. Richard Madden was pretty good too. Um, oh, and this movie starts out, or doesn't start out, but there are scenes with Elton John as a kid, and went back when he was named Reggie Dwight, and so the actors that play the kids, um, there's like a younger version and then a slightly older version. Both of those kids do really good jobs. Some child actors are not great, but these two are good. I don't remember their names, but I remember thinking that they were really good. They also had good singing voices. I'm not actually sure if they were the ones singing or if it was like some other guy that they had to get to lip sync, and they had to lip sync to. But if they were the ones who sang, they had great voices. Taron Egerton has a really great voice too. He sounds just like Elton John, I think. In fact, funny story. A couple years ago, I made a huge playlist on Spotify of all the songs I've ever enjoyed, and I still listen to that today. Um, Rocketman was on there, but I didn't realize at the time I added the Rocketman version sang by Taron Egerton, which is not the original version. Um, And I was driving with my roommate one day, and that song came on, and he was like, "What's this?" I was like, "It's Rocketman." He was like, "Is this a remix or something?" I was like, "No, it's Rocketman." And he looked, and he was like, "This is by Taron Egerton, not Elton John." I was like, "Oh." I feel like an idiot. So I didn't even notice the difference between the two songs. I mean, I notice now, after listening to them like both again. I guess I was just not thinking clearly. I don't know. Wasn't really paying attention, I guess is what I should say. Um, so yeah, that was pretty funny. I do have the original Rocketman in my playlist now, which is much. I mean, it's a much better song because it's the original guy who sang it. But my point is, Taron Egerton has a great singing voice too, if it actually is him, which I assume it is, because he's been in other musicals too. He was in Sing, the animated uh, movie about animals putting on that talent show or whatever it is, which that's a pretty good movie. He plays the gorilla, or he voice acts the gorilla. And another funny story, he at the end of that movie, the gorilla sings "I'm Still Standing" as his like final piece in the talent show, and that's an Elton John song, and Taron Egerton sings it in this movie too at the end of it, Rocketman. Um, so if I had a nickel for every time Taron Egerton sang "I'm Still Standing" in a big movie, or at the end of a big movie, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. um, that was a Phineas and Ferb quote. I love that show. Anyway, so yeah, I thought that was interesting. I hope I'm not wrong about that. I didn't actually do any research, but I'm pretty sure Taron Egerton played the gorilla. I should probably look that up before I clip that on Twitch or something. Um, but yeah, all the musical numbers, I already said, are all fun to watch. Um, I was just talking about "I'm Still Standing," so I was thinking about how much I like that song. I really like that scene in Sing 2. Not Sing 2, Sing 1. Sing, comma, T-O-O. Because that's the scene where his dad breaks out of jail to come see him. That was a sweet moment. Talk about Phineas and Ferb next time. A masterful piece of cinema right there. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll talk about the Phineas and Ferb movie. What's it called? Across the Second Dimension. That's actually, honestly, a really good movie. I'll talk about that in one of my streams in the future. I might have to rewatch it to remember everything that happens. But I remember I really liked that movie. um, but not now. Back to Rocketman. Oh, there's that, or the Candace Against the Universe movie that came out recently. Oh yeah, I did see that one too. I didn't like that one as much as the first movie, the Across the Second Dimension. Maybe just because it came out like years after Phineas and Ferb ended, but I still liked it. It's Phineas and Ferb, so can't dislike it. Anyway, yeah. So back to Rocketman. I didn't really like the negative-ish character development that he has. I mean, obviously it's like accurate to his person, the guy in real life. He's like, he starts out a good person, then as he gets famous, he turns into a terrible person, which happens with a lot of musicians apparently. It kind of happened with Elvis, happens with Elton John, and happens with Freddie Mercury too, in all 3 of these movies that I'm talking about. So that's another one of the similarities we'll talk about later. But they start doing drugs. The fame starts getting to their head, so they start being assholes to the people that they love. So I didn't really like that. I mean, he does redeem himself in the end, and obviously he's still alive today, so people like him now, so he's not an asshole anymore. But the weird thing is the way he redeems himself in the end. He does like this. There's like this big apology scene in the rehab center where all the people he's ever like been rude to, or yeah, they are there, and he like apologizes to them slash gets closure from them, because some of them he doesn't need to apologize to because they were the mean ones. But the thing is that they're not really there. Like the scene doesn't really happen because he's like imagining it in his head. So even though he does apologize and get closure from some of the characters, it doesn't really happen, at least not in the movie. Um, I'm sure, well, I'm not sure, but like I assume he did actually have these conversations with the characters or the people in real life, but I don't think the movie did a good job at conveying that because they make it seem like it didn't really happen. um, he does make up with his writing partner, um, Bernie, I think is his name. He does do that in real life, and Bernie was a good person, so I'm glad that part happened. But yeah, I just didn't really like how they kind of insinuated that it didn't actually happen. Um, but otherwise, I liked the character. Um, I liked how he went from like the shy, little boy playing the piano to one of the biggest stars of all time. Um, so yeah, Rocketman is a good movie. Definitely, you should watch it if you are a huge Elton John fan. But I think the casual viewer would enjoy this too, because I'm not a huge Elton John fan, but I actually really liked it. I gave it the same score as Elvis. I'm giving both 7 out of 10, but I think I like Rocketman more. Um, and also the visuals. A lot of these movies I talk about have great visuals, but yeah, the visuals are really cool. Lots of good, very nice to look at shots, and there's a lot of long moving shots too, which is pretty cool. Like especially in the musical numbers. Um, they're singing and dancing. There's a ton of stuff moving at once, and the camera doesn't cut; it just moves with them. I always like when that happens in movies. So cool cinematography, cool, just a cool movie all around. I don't think it won any awards, at least not any Oscars. Feel like it should have. I don't know what else was nominated that year. What was that, 2019? So I guess there were a lot of good movies in 2019, so maybe that's why. Um, but yeah, I think it deserves some awards. Um, so yeah, that's all about Rocketman individually. Like as I said earlier, we're gonna come back to all three of these movies at once and talk about their similarities and differences because there are plenty of similarities. But for now, we're gonna move on to the next movie on the slate, which is Bohemian Rhapsody. Did it change? I have no idea. There it goes. Okay, cool. Bohemian Rhapsody is a musical biopic about Queen, the band. Mostly about Freddie Mercury, but Freddie Mercury was the lead singer of Queen. Um, so it's about him. It's starring Rami Malik, however you pronounce his name, um, and some other actors that I don't remember any of the names of. Actually, fun fact: one of the bandmates of Freddie Mercury in this movie is played by one of the child actors that was in Jurassic Park, like one of the kids, which is interesting. Um, Obviously, he's a lot older now because it's been like, what, 30 years? Or 25-ish years? Because Bohemian Rhapsody came out in 2018. What was I talking about? Oh, yeah. So, Bohemian Rhapsody is a decent movie. Probably, out of these three musical biopics, probably my least favorite of the three. But, it's not bad. I like Queen's songs. At least their hits. Bohemian Rhapsody, of course. Killer Queen. We Are the Champions. We Will Rock You. Whatever other big hits they have. They are great songs, and it's cool to see how the band came up with the songs. I don't know if it's really accurate in how they did or not, but watching their process, especially for Bohemian Rhapsody when they were on that farm, was pretty cool. And every scene where they perform these songs is also really cool, especially at the end, in the final concert that they play. It's always good to see those songs performed, even though it's not really the same actors. Um, and I wonder if I didn't look this up, but I wonder if Rami Malik, however you pronounce his name, actually sang these songs. I feel like he didn't, because I feel like in the movie the songs sounded like exactly like Queen, so maybe he lip synced. Um, but if he did sing them, it's impressive. Maybe he did sing them and then they dubbed Freddie Mercury's voice over. Yeah, I don't really know. I really gotta look these things up before I talk about them. It's whatever. But anyway, this movie I think suffers a little bit because it doesn't have an overarching plot really, besides, of course, Freddie Mercury's rise and fall from, to fame, and his character development. I know it's a biopic, so it's supposed to be his whole life story and Queen's, how Queen was formed and their whole career, but I feel like there could have been some sort of overarching plot that they could have incorporated that would have made the movie feel more cohesive, because it feels disjointed. It just feels like a lot of scenes about Queen and no like overall meaning to them, I guess. No overall connection between them, besides the fact that it's the same characters, I guess. And besides the fact that it's mainly about Freddie Mercury, his character development from how he started to becoming an asshole with fame, just like all the other musicians, and then eventually becoming a good person again before he died. Again, I don't really know if that's accurate or not, but I would like to think it is. It's always good to root for characters. You don't want to just watch a movie about a complete dick the whole time, So it's good that he had character development. Let's see. I did notice. Oh, I said this already, but Rami Malek's performance as Freddie Mercury is fantastic. He actually won the Oscar for Best Performance that year, which I do think he deserves. Probably more than Taron Egerton as Elton John. I guess he was wearing like a prosthetic, mouth or whatever, because he has this weird jaw thing, which I guess I never really noticed in Freddie Mercury in real life. Like, I feel like it's way more prominent in the actor in this movie. But maybe, I guess it's probably real. I don't know. I think I lost. Why am I still in the game? Did I lose? Yeah, I did. Okay, sorry. Anyway, so yeah, he definitely deserved that Oscar. I'm wondering if Austin Butler will get an Oscar this year, or at least be nominated, because he probably deserves that too, for his performance as Elvis. Anyway, back to Bohemian Rhapsody, the movie. It also won the Oscar for Best Editing that year, which is weird because the editing was kind of bad, especially compared to these last two movies that I watched, Elvis and Rocketman. The editing just feels boring for a movie about such a high energy band like Queen. I feel like the editing should have been a lot more fast paced, like it was in Elvis. Obviously, Elvis came out later, and so did Rocketman. So maybe they learned from that movie. They were like, oh, we got to make the editing better for this movie. But I guess the Academy doesn't agree with me because they gave it the award for best editing. I don't know what else was nominated that year, but I feel like it should not have won. My roommate was saying he thinks that's because, as I was saying earlier, you're not supposed to notice good editing really, unless it's like really good. But if you notice bad editing, then you notice it, right? And since the editing is bad, they notice it, and they're like, oh, there's editing, so they gave it the award. That's basically what my roommate says. I can see how that makes sense, or maybe the Academy is just dumb. I don't know. A lot of the times I do not agree with their decisions. I mean, Nomadland for Best Picture in 2020 or 2021, whenever that was. Terrible choice. I hated that movie. But that's not what we're here to talk about. Although I did like Coda, which won Best Picture in 2022. So I guess sometimes I agree with them. I don't know. Don't agree with them about Bohemian Rhapsody getting Best Editing, but I do agree with them about Rami Malek getting Best Actor. So I guess, they're hit and miss on when they're accurate and when they're not. Um, I really liked the final concert scene, as I was saying earlier, but I feel like it's too long. Like, I feel like it's like 20 minutes long, which is too long for a scene. I mean, I guess it was the Live Aid concert, which where each band got 20 minutes to perform, so I guess they just wanted to put in the whole performance. But we had already heard some of the songs played in the movie, and like Bohemian Rhapsody, they play that again. I think they played another song we had already heard. I did like that they played We Are the Champions. That was a good one to end it on. But yeah, I just felt like it was too long, and they could have cut or like made it a montage or something, or just had played one of the songs in, or showed one of the songs in the movie, and not all of them. Because it was pretty thrilling at first to watch that final scene, but then after one song I was like, oh, they're still going, they're not cutting to a new scene. So they could have done better with that. It's funny, my aunt recently was like, she did not agree with my opinion on Bohemian Rhapsody. She thinks I should have gave it a higher score. I guess she really likes Queen, I guess, so maybe that's why she liked it more than me. But I was like, yeah, I just felt like it was kind of boring, and Queen is not a boring band by any means, so it was disappointing that the movie itself was boring. It had good moments. I mean, I still liked it more than I disliked it. Like, it's not a bad movie. It's just not a great movie either. It just could have been better, is what I'm saying. But yeah. Is that everything I have to say about Bohemian Rhapsody individually? I think it is. I'm going to move on to the similarities between these three biopics. I don't have a screen for the bottom left corner to show all three, so I guess I'll just keep it on Bohemian Rhapsody. But I watched Elvis in June, and then I watched Bohemian Rhapsody a couple weeks ago, or like last week or something, and then Rocketman last week as well. Because I was like, well, if I'm going to talk about Elvis in my next stream, I should talk about more the other musical biopics as well. And after watching all three of these movies, I noticed a lot of similarities between the three, which is interesting to discuss. The main one that I want to talk about, well, I already kind of did talk about, is how all three of these characters, which is Elton John, Freddie Mercury, and Elvis, become, like, the fame goes to their head, and they start pushing people that they care about away and start being, like jerks to them. And so that's just like a thing that happens to a lot of artists, or did happen at least back in the 1900s. I say that like that was a long time ago. But yeah, so it's just interesting to see, and they all end up doing drugs as well. One of them even dies from a drug overdose. Similarly, that they're too long. That is probably one of the similarities. Elvis and Bohemian Rhapsody both felt too long. Well, actually, I don't remember how long Bohemian Rhapsody was. That one was just slow. Elvis was too long. Rocketman, I think, was a good length. I think it was only like 2 hours, and that one was more fun to watch, because it's more of a musical. But so yeah, I guess that is kind of one of the similarities. But yeah, the main one is about their characters, and then there's another thing. A couple other things. One of the things is that they all end up being gay. I mean, I don't think Elvis was gay. I guess he was like bi, because he was married-ish. But I think I remember a scene where he and a dude looked at each other in a motel or something, and that implied what they were about to do. I Can't really remember. I know with Rocketman and Bohemian Rhapsody, it was way more explicit. That was actually a major plot point of Bohemian Rhapsody, of Freddie Mercury. He got married and then he realized that he's gay. Um, and then Elton John is just, that's not really a major plot point, it's just who his character is. He's just gay the whole time. Well, actually, he has a girlfriend for a while and then he realizes he's gay too. So it's interesting that all three of these, great musicians end up being gay. Um, not saying not that it's a bad thing to be gay. I'm just pointing out an interesting similarity between the three characters. I think I read Elvis was actually bi. Um, don't really know if that's true. I don't know much. And then big similarity between Rocketman and Bohemian Rhapsody is that they both Freddie Mercury and Elton John end up having a manager who is gay and evil. I mean, not evil, but like he has a ulterior motive. It doesn't actually end up caring for the protagonist. And they both have an accent. In Rocketman, it's played by Richard Madden, um, who is Scottish? No, he's not Scottish. I don't know what nationality he is. And then in Bohemian Rhapsody, I don't remember the actor's name, but it's an Irish dude. Or maybe he's Scottish. I don't remember. So they both have affairs with the protagonist and end up being their manager. So that's interesting too. And it's more interesting that both these managers decide that they want to, or that they want to be evil, basically. I mean, they're not evil, but they don't really care for the artist that they are representing. So it's interesting that that's in both these movies. But then I learned, my roommate told me this. I mean, I think he read it somewhere, so he could be wrong. But he says that in Bohemian Rhapsody, in Freddie Mercury's life, this manager guy did not even exist. Like, it's just something they created for the plot. So I'm wondering if they got that inspiration from Elton John's life, because it did happen in his life. Or maybe it didn't happen in his life either. I don't actually know. Because I don't bother to do any research for some reason. So yeah, it's interesting. And then, if you want to add a third similarity in here, in Elvis, he also has a manager who ends up being evil and also has an accent. He's German in that movie. In Elvis, they don't have an affair because they have more of a father-son relationship. So it's not similar in that way, but it's interesting that in all three, the manager has ulterior motives for the artist, wants to is really just using them for the money, basically. Even though he didn't exist in Bohemian Rhapsody, he wasn't, apparently, according to my roommate. I don't really know if that's true. And then another similarity is that they all have great songs. I guess this kind of goes without saying. And then they all, well, actually not all of them died. Elton John is still alive, still coming out with music. I mean, I don't think he comes out with new songs. He does remixes with new artists now. He did one with Dua Lipa, a remix of Rocketman, which I hated. I love the original, but I hate the remix that they made for some reason. Whenever it came on the radio, when I used to listen to the radio a lot in my car because I used to deliver pizzas, so I would have the radio on. Whenever that song came on, I would always switch the station, just because I hated that song so much, and I usually never change the station. I don't know what makes me hate it so much, but I hated it. And then Elton John also came out with, or he has a collab coming out with Britney Spears, I think. Yeah, soon. Is Britney Spears the singer? I think so. Or is it a different Britney? I don't remember. They're doing a remix of Tiny Dancer, which is going to be called Hold Me Closer. I only know about that because I work at a news station and it's on the news. So hopefully that one's better and I don't hate it. Dula Peep. Is that... I don't know what that means. Is that Dua Lipa's nickname or something? Anyway. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, I was talking about how two of them died, but Elton John is still alive. But yeah, they all have problems with drugs. Elton John is sober now. He's been sober since 19, whenever it was that he um, went to rehab. So that good for him. Unfortunately for Elvis, he overdosed, and people say, there's rumors that the manager killed him by drugging him or something, or maybe just working him so hard that he ended up overdosing. Don't really know if that's true or not. They didn't really portray that in the movie, I don't think. I mean, they portrayed Tom Hanks as the bad guy, but they don't make it seem like he killed him. And then Bohemian Rhapsody, Freddie Mercury dies of AIDS, not of a drug overdose, which is very unfortunate, of course. Queen is actually donated a lot to AIDS research or something like that. So, like the rest of the band after Freddie Mercury died, so that's good. When I was looking up when these bands, their careers were active, it says Queen is still active today. So maybe they're still making music without Freddie Mercury. I don't know if that's true. I haven't heard any new Queen songs. I don't think. But maybe they haven't just been big hits, because I don't really listen to Queen that much besides the big hits. But yeah, and then another similarity, of course, is that all three of these bands / musicians were active around the same time in the 70s. Yeah, because Elvis, his career was 1953-ish to 1977, which is when he died. Elton John started his career in 1962 and is still going today. So he was active in the 70s, of course. And then not Bohemian Rhapsody, Queen, started in 1970-ish and ended around 1991 when Freddie Mercury died. So all three of these huge musicians were active at the same time in the 70s. In fact, they actually mention that in Bohemian Rhapsody when they're talking about the Live Aid concert that they're gonna do. The guy's like, anyone who's anyone is gonna be there. He mentions a bunch of famous bands. He mentions Elton's name. I don't think he says Elvis, probably because this actually was like the 90s or 80s or something. So Elvis had already passed, but I think it's kind of cool that they mention Elton John in Bohemian Rhapsody, because I just watched both those movies. It's a crossover. The consequences of Marvel movies today when I say it's a crossover that Elton John is mentioned in a movie about Queen. Even though they were both real people. But anyway, yeah, so that's that's all the similarities I noticed between these three movies. Again, I just wanted to analyze those similarities and differences. I just find it interesting. If anyone else knows any fun facts or similarities between these three movies, let me know, because I'm quite interested in it. So yeah, I gave Elvis a 7 out of 10, Rocketman a 7 out of 10, but I liked it slightly more than Elvis. And then Bohemian Rhapsody I gave a 6 out of 10. So, they're decent movies. If you're a big fan of any of these three artists, then you will probably love these movies. Hopefully. I mean, I don't really know how accurate they are. Apparently Bohemian Rhapsody is not that accurate because the manager didn't exist. Apparently Elvis is really accurate because my grandma says so, and she grew up with Elvis. And Rocketman might be probably accurate because Elton John himself has not said anything about how much he hates the movie. But yeah, I would recommend watching these movies if you like these artists. And yeah, that is all I have to say about these movies. So now we're going to switch gears here and move on from musical biopics and start talking about sci-fi. One of the, I guess, arguably biggest sci-fi franchises of all time, even though there's only two movies in this franchise, and that is Blade Runner. So the similarity is probably the lack of research done by you about each movie. That is a pretty big similarity between these three musical biopics, because I do not research anything. I guess I probably should. So I know what I'm talking about. I guess I also could research things on stream. I could switch to my internet screen and look things up with you guys, but that's too much work. I'm having fun playing Fall Guys. Just kidding. I'm not even really paying attention to Fall Guys. I'm just playing it so you guys have something to look at. But anyway, now we're gonna talk about Blade Runner. Um, this movie is a classic. Um, some people say it is one of the greatest sci-fi movies of all time. This movie is starring Harrison Ford, um, who plays Han Solo and Indiana Jones and all that, of course. Um, and it's in the future, I think, where basically there's clones now, which they call replicants, um, where they use them to basically as slave labor. I think they use the clones to like work for them. Um, and then before this movie happens, there was an uprising in the clones, so they are now decommissioned, and there are these people called Blade Runners. Harrison Ford is one of them, who are sent to hunt down the remaining replicants and retire them, which is really just killing them. So in this movie, Harrison Ford is hunting down some replicants, and then he meets a girl who I don't remember the actress's name, who is a replicant but thinks she's a human or something. At least that should have been a main plot point, but it's not really. He kind of just tells her at one point, and she's like, "Oh, now I'm sad," and then doesn't show up for the rest of the movie. Or I don't really remember. I'm gonna be honest, I did not like this movie. It's a classic, and everyone disagrees with my rating or with my review. But I thought it was way too slow, and I was bored out of my mind, and might have been the most bored I've ever been during a movie. Besides maybe like, well, I don't want to tell you guys what other movies I was bored during because they're also classics. I think it's just my goldfish brain. I prefer newer movies with faster paced plots and editing. Old movies, especially black and white movies, bore me. It's a problem. If I'm a film buff, I really should appreciate these old movies. I just can't enjoy them. I mean, I do appreciate Blade Runner for what it is, especially because of the technical side of it is really good. But the story itself is just so boring to me. This is actually, I watched this last week, and this was actually my second attempt to watch it. I don't want to say attempt because I did watch it through both times, like all the way through both times. But the first time I watched this was 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago actually. Yeah, I was in college. I went to a film school, and one of our assignments was to watch Blade Runner and write about it, I think. I don't remember if we had to write about it. Don't know what I would have written if I did write about it, because the first time I really could not pay attention at all. I was just so bored the whole time because of how slow it is. But then recently I wanted to watch Blade Runner 2049 because I didn't watch that the first time I watched the first movie. Because I heard 2049 was a great movie. That's the sequel to Blade Runner, by the way. So I really wanted to watch it last week because I heard it was so good, and it was about to be my 365th movie watched since I started my journey of watching all these movies back in quarantine. So I wanted to make it a good movie for my 365th movie, even though it's been more than a year since quarantine. It's been 2 years, 2.5 years actually, since I started this journey. So it took me 2.5 years to watch a year worth of movies, which is kind of rookie numbers. I could not get myself to watch a movie every day. I don't think I would enjoy that. I get tired of movies sometimes, no matter how much I love them. But anyway, so yeah, I wanted to watch 2049 last week, so I was like, alright, I'll try again with Blade Runner. I've seen a lot of movies since last time I watched it, so maybe I'll enjoy it this time. Maybe I'll appreciate it more. So I put it on, and I fell asleep. I mean, I don't think I actually fell asleep, but I came really close. And now part of that could be the fault of my new job that I got recently, because my shift is 4 a.m. to 1 p.m., so I have to wake up at 3 a.m. every day. Not that I stay up late, like I go to bed early, so it's not like I'm not getting enough sleep. but I was feeling really tired when I watched it. So maybe that is part of the reason why I did not enjoy it, because I was so tired. But I have the feeling that's not the case. I think it was just too slow for me. Um, the plot just seems to go nowhere fast, I think is a good way to put it. Um, and it's funny, the protagonist, Harrison Ford, whose character name is Rick Deckard, never even meets the main antagonist of this movie until the final act, like the third act in the final fight scene. And he actually, another fun fact, he doesn't even speak to him at all. The antagonist talks to him, but Rick Deckard never responds because they're like fighting. He just kind of like listens. So that's an interesting fun fact, and I think it may be one of the only movies where the protagonist and antagonist, or the main protagonist and main antagonist, never speak to each other. um, I don't actually think that um, contributed to why I didn't like this movie, why I feel like it was so slow. I think it actually worked in this case because Deckard is working his way through the replicants, and that's like the big boss at the end. So there's like a scene with each replicant that he ends up retiring, which is just killing, and then at the end he kills the last one. I think I'm gonna be honest, I was scrolling on my phone through this movie, so I didn't even catch what happened at the end. I think the main antagonist saves him and then kills himself or something. I wish I knew why. I should have paid attention more, but I just could not bring myself to watch that movie. I had to like actually pay close attention to that movie. It was just so slow. Um, if you like sci-fi movies and don't mind a slow pace, you probably will like this movie. I think I am just stupid. Because the movie's not even that long. I think it's like 2 hours, not even. So it's not like um, it's not like it's the Godfather length of 3 hours, or Zack Snyder's Justice League length of 4 hours. um, but it kind of feels like it because of how slow it is. But let's stop talking about how much I hated this movie, because the technical side of this movie is actually really impressive. This film came out in 1982, but everything besides how slow it is feels like it could have been made today. With the production design, the visuals that they use, the acting, um, the cinematography, the score, which is the soundtrack, um, all of that is like really impressive for a movie that came out in the 80s. So props to them for that. I just wish that they could have done better with the story. At least better for my, ADHD goldfish brain. Even though I don't actually have ADHD. I shouldn't say that I have it. That feels insensitive. I'm just, I just don't like slow movies, I guess. Like I literally could not even tell you how it ends. I mean, I already said that, but like, I remember hearing this line at the end. Oh yeah, actually, yeah. Here's another plot point. The replicants are created with only a 4-year lifespan, right? So the replicant that Rick Deckard falls in love with, her character's name is Rachel. I don't remember the actress's name. She's only gonna live 4 years, or maybe like less than that, I guess. A couple years now. So it was kind of interesting. I mean, I don't think they spent enough time with it, or maybe I just wasn't paying attention, but I don't think they really show her grappling with the fact that she's gonna die soon. There is this line at the end where she's like, or she doesn't say this, some other guy just talks to Deckard and is like, it's a shame she's not gonna live, but then again, who does? Which for some reason I thought was a really cool line, like a really well written line. Don't really know why. Maybe because, it kind of has a theme of mortality in it. morality? No, mortality. Yeah, of how nobody lives forever. I guess she just lives an even shorter amount of time. Um, I don't know, something about that was cool. So yeah, the themes in this movie probably could have been good if they had been explored more, or maybe they were explored more and I just wasn't paying attention. Who knows? I don't. I don't think I'm gonna even try to watch this movie again. Like, I want to be able to actually pay attention, but I don't think I'm going to. um, and yeah, speaking of the romance, I felt like it kinda wasn't developed well either. Again, maybe I just wasn't paying enough attention, but there's this scene where, like, at first she doesn't like him, right? And then eventually she falls for him, but there's this scene where he kisses her or something, and she tries to leave, and he physically stops her, and then, like, forces her to kiss him, and then it's kind of says something like, I want you to say that you want me, or something like that, which may have been romantic for the 80s, but it was kind of questionable, I think, in terms of like consent. You know, I mean, that's something that is very important, especially today. It should have been important back then too, but definitely was not as important to people, I guess, and was maybe overlooked in movies, or I don't really know. It just felt weird. Like, it kind of felt like, oh, I don't know what words I'm allowed to say on Twitch, but it kind of felt like the R word a little bit. Um, like, I don't think it really was, but it sort of felt that way. So they could have done better with that, with the romance, I think. Um, and also she's a replicant, so in the movie it's like she can't even. Well, maybe this is a good thing for him. They don't think she can get pregnant, but that's actually a major plot point of the sequel, which I will talk about in a second. Um, or is there anything else I got to talk about the original? Um, maybe not. I already talked about how much I did not like it. I gave it a 6 out of 10, just because, like, I feel like I was kind of peer pressured into giving it a 6 out of 10 because I know how much people love it. And I do admit that it was technically good, like, in terms of the technical side of things, it was good. But yeah, the story just could not get behind. Yeah, that's probably about all I have to say about the original. But let's move on to the sequel, which came out in 2017, directed by Denis Villeneuve, however you pronounce his name. The original was directed by Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott, yeah, who did Alien, I think, and some other movies. But yeah, Dennis did 2049, which is the sequel. He also directed Dune, the new Dune, Arrival, other movies like that. So yeah, Dennis was definitely a great choice for this movie. This movie stars Ryan Gosling, Ana de Armas, and Harrison Ford, of course. And Ryan Gosling's the main character. In this movie, he's a replicant. I guess the company that did create them in the last movie was taken over by some other guy, who I don't remember the name of. And they started making replicants again for slave labor again or something. I don't really remember. All I remember is that Ryan Gosling's character is a replicant, but he is sent to retire, which is just kill other replicants. So he's a Blade Runner, but he's a replicant himself, which is interesting in itself. And in this movie, I guess he uncovers a secret about the company that created replicants, and he goes on a mission to discover more about this. And then he has a love interest who is not real, Ana de Armas plays a holographic girl in this movie, um, which was like another invention, because this is in the future, so it was an invention by this company. They created, a holographic love interest. Um, and then in this movie, Ryan Gosling is sent on a mission, or on this mission that he embarks on, eventually leads him to Harrison Ford, who is the original, or who's from the original movie. Um, this movie I did like. I I already said I hated the last one or the first one, but I really liked this next one or this sequel. And it's weird because it's honestly even slower than the first one. Well, maybe not even slower, but it's about as slow probably, and it's even longer, like a whole hour longer. It's almost 3 hours long, 2 hours and 45 minutes, I think. Um, but the story was way more compelling in this movie, I think, and I was actually able to pay attention. I wasn't just scrolling on my phone the whole time or falling asleep. I was interested in what was happening. I was rooting for the characters. The mystery was compelling to watch it unravel throughout the film. Um, and yeah, I just liked it. There were a few scenes that did feel like they went a little too long, and they almost lost my attention. But every time a new scene started, I think I was right back to like paying very close attention and eager to see what would happen next. So whatever, I mean, I don't think it was the same writers. So whoever wrote the new one, which I don't know if Dennis wrote it or if he just directed it, they did a really good job at writing this new one, and I was able to actually pay attention this time. um, Ryan Gosling is a great actor, I think, especially in this movie. His character's name is Joe, I think, or his character doesn't have a name at first, which is interesting because in
Roommate Logan time.
Roommate Logan time,
Roommate Logan time. Blow up the chat. Roommate Logan time.
there's nobody here.
Literally nobody?
There's one person. Well, two, I guess. I think one of them is me
Why did they count you?
because I'm watching it. There's only two people. Yeah. Thanks, Alvin. Um,
Yeah, messages. It's popular.
I don't think these are messages. I don't know what it is. Prime loot, whatever that means.
You're 8.
Yep.
What'd you have?
Quesadillas.
Oh, that's right. Did you just say?
No, I decided I'm gonna save that for this weekend because you're not gonna be here then either, so I'll have that for dinner another night.
She-Hulk later?
Yes, I watched the first episode today, so I'm ready to watch the second.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm almost done. Oh, thanks. I'm talking about the last movie now, so I should be done soon.
Alright, cool. Let's do that.
Yep. Oh, the round started. Got me distracted. Anyway, what was I talking about? Anyone remember what I was talking about? That was your weekly. Oh, I guess it's not weekly anymore because he was here on Tuesday too. Your bi-weekly? No, because that's every other week. Whatever. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I was talking about Blade Runner 2049. I was able to pay attention this time because the story was more compelling, basically, is what I was saying. Ryan Gosling, oh yeah, I was saying his character in the recent movie, The Gray Man, which came out this year, also doesn't have a actual character name. He just goes by Six in that movie. In this movie, he goes by, I don't remember, he has some number, 42 or something, because he's a replicant. And then his love interest, Ana de Armas, who's not real, remember, gives him a human name, which is Joe. But no one really calls him Joe. No one really calls him anything in the movie, I don't think. So yeah, I just think it's interesting that he doesn't play characters with names very often. But anyway, shoot, I just had something in my head that I wanted to talk about. Don't remember. Or whatever. Anyway, oh yeah. The best thing about this movie, which they should have done in the last one, or I guess they do it, but opposite. In this movie, he thinks he's a replicant, right? Which is like a clone. But then he learns something where It makes him think that he's a real person, like a real boy, that he was born. Um, because he thinks something happens, so that he makes him think that he's Rachel's son. Um, and then later in the movie, this is a spoiler. I mean, I talk about spoilers in the movie. He finds out that he wasn't actually, or that he was wrong. So he went from thinking he was a clone to like thinking he was not a real person to thinking he was a real person, and then realizing he's not a real person. So it's interesting to see him grapple with that realization throughout the film, um, which I think they could have done better in the original with Rachel having her be a replicant, um, and she should have like been grappling with the fact that um, she's not real when she learns that she's not real. But no, he just kind of tells her, and she's like, "Oh, okay." Um, sorry, I'm distracted. What game are we playing here? Oh, this game. Okay. All right. Anyway, so yeah, back to Blade Runner 2049. Um, Ryan Gosling's a great actor, of course. Um, better in this movie than he is in The Gray Man, I think. Um, and then all the actors are really good. Harrison Ford actually does some of the best acting I think I've ever seen from him. Um, obviously, he's great as Han Solo and Indiana Jones, but like, no offense to these movies, these like amazing movies, but he doesn't really have to do. He doesn't really need to be a fantastic actor to play those parts. But in this movie, he's has these really emotional scenes. Um, like the one where he sees Rachel again, even though she's not real. Um, he gets kidnapped, and the bad guy like shows him a hologram of her or something. So, um, oh yeah, so his acting in this scene is like really really good. I thought like he puts on a very good performance. Um, so good on Harrison Ford for doing that. And then all the other actors, of course, are great too. Jared Leto is actually in this movie as the main antagonist. Well, I wouldn't say main antagonist. He's in two scenes really, but he's like the big bad CEO. Um, and his acting is also pretty good, which is interesting because the last movie I saw him in was Morbius, and he was terrible in Morbius. We all know how he was in Morbius. Morbius, greatest movie of all time? Question mark. And then he's also in Suicide Squad as Joker, and I guess is good in that, but not like great. And I guess those are really the only movies I've seen him in. I think, besides maybe some older movies. Um, so it's cool that he actually puts on a good performance in Blade Runner 2049 here. Um, and then of course everyone else does a great job as well. Don't remember any of the other actors' names, but they were all good. Oh, Dave Bautista's in it. Only at the beginning. He's pretty good too. So yeah, the acting all around is great. And as I said about the original movie, the technical side of this film is also phenomenal. Like even better than the first one. I was saying the first one, it looks like it could have came out today. With this one, it looks like it could have come out in the future, with how technologically advanced it feels. It reminded me a lot of Dune, the new Dune from 2021 that Dennis also directed, of course, so it makes sense that it reminded me of that. Um, obviously, 2049 came first because it came out in 2017. Dune came out in 2021. But yeah, I saw Dune first, so it just reminded me of Dune. But yeah, the technical side is great. The score, the soundtrack is so weird and just like cool to listen to. Very similar to Dune, as I already said. Um, and then the cinematography and the visuals are so good. Like probably the best I've seen. Well, not in any movie. Maybe in any movie. I don't know. Like some of the best I've seen in movies. Um, I just the visuals, the colors, the shots that they use are just all really good. And the CGI also is fantastic. I mean, that's kind of expected these days. But there's especially the scenes where Ana de Armas, since she's a hologram, there are some scenes where she like phases in and out, kind of, and they all look really cool. Um, Especially that scene where they have this real girl come over and kind of like take over her body so they can do it, you know. Um, and there's this shot where she's like fading in and out between the two actors, and it's so the transition is so seamless and so cool looking. Um, it's just great. I wonder if I think it won some Oscars probably for best visual effects. I would think. Um, Maybe best production design. I don't really remember what it won. I should really do more research, as I've said many times today, but I forgot. I know it won some Oscars, and it definitely deserved those Oscars. Um, or I guess I shouldn't say I know it won some Oscars, but I'm pretty sure it won some Oscars that it definitely deserved. Um, let's see. Oh yeah, so this is one of the movies, or one of the few franchises where the sequel is better than the original. Um, doesn't really happen often. It happened with Top Gun. Top Gun Maverick is way better than Top Gun, the original. Blade Runner 2049, I think, is way better than the original Blade Runner. Some people don't think so, but I do, because I could actually pay attention. um, but yeah, there's not really many other movies that do that. I guess Spider-Man 2 was better than Spider-Man. There's definitely some other sequels that are probably better, but usually the originals are better, and so it's cool that this sequel is better. Um, the only thing that I had a problem with, um, which isn't really a big problem, I kind of felt like they left the story sort of unfinished. Um, and it didn't seem like they had a sequel in mind, because they haven't announced anything. It's been 5 years since that came out. I don't think they've announced anything, not that I know of. And at the end of this movie, spoilers, but basically they kill them. I guess she's the main antagonist because she's like the CEO's right-hand man-ish that does most of the dirty work. So they fight her and kill her at the end. But they don't do anything to Jared Leto's character. I think he goes like off-world or something, because they can go to space in this movie. And he's waiting for Rick Deckard to show up there, but they save Rick Deckard and escape. But they never like tie up what happens with Jared Leto's character. He just is never seen again. So if he's so powerful, it would make sense that he would just come back and get him again or find him again, right? I don't know. So I felt like they left that unfinished. And then they also have, before Ryan Gosling's character goes back to save Rick Deckard, there's this like group of people that save him from death or whatever, like patch him up because he got injured. And they call themselves like freedom fighters or something like that. They're like, yeah, we have an army. If you ever need us, call us, or something along those lines. I don't really remember. And he's like, okay, and then he doesn't call them. Like, I don't know. They just don't show up again. So it's weird that they even put them in if they weren't going to show up again. Unless they have a sequel in mind, which I don't think they do. And then lastly, it ends with Harrison Ford finding his real kid, which is his daughter, after Ryan Gosling realizes he's not his son. I did like that, how they ended that. It just ends with them meeting and then you don't see anything. I liked that. But Ryan Gosling before that, after Harrison Ford goes inside to see his daughter, he's kind of just like, he just kind of lays down on the stairs in the snow, which is a cool shot. All tired and injured and stuff because of everything he'd been doing. Probably thinking about the fact that he's not actually a real boy. And then it ends. Like I guess it's kind of nice that it's, well, not nice, but like, it's cool that it's not really a happy ending for everyone. the protagonist didn't get his happy ending, but Rick Deckard did. We assume. Um, but yeah, it just feels like they left some things kind of unfinished. Sorry, there's something in my eye. Okay. Um, that could have been done better. I mean, not done better, but I don't know, tied up more, tied up better, um, or make a sequel again. I don't know. I don't think it needs a sequel, but like with the story not being finished, I don't know. Maybe it deserves one. No idea. I don't know. It's a good movie either way. Again, like I said, way better than the original. I gave the original a 6 out of 10, and give this new one a 9 out of 10. That's how good I think it is. One of my friends was disappointed that I didn't give it a 10 out of 10, because a lot of people do think it's like a perfect movie, um, and I do think it's almost perfect. It just the thing with the story not seeming to be finished and a couple of the scenes being a bit too long. Those are really my only major problems with it, which is why I knocked off a point. Um, but yeah, also it's called Blade Runner 2049 because it takes place in the year 2049. I don't know if I mentioned that. I don't think I did. Don't think it's really important to mention, and you probably could have inferred that, but I wanted to mention it anyway. And I wanted to say something so I could keep talking because I think I'm about done, but I want to finish this Fall Guys match before I get off. um, if you guys have any thoughts about these movies, let me know in the comments of this YouTube video once it becomes a YouTube video. If you have any movies you want me to watch, let me know. I probably won't watch them, but if you want me to, then maybe I will. I'm thinking about watching that Phineas and Ferb movie again. That's just such a good movie. Um, okay, I died on purpose because I'm gonna get off. So, um, I hope you all enjoyed this episode of Radish's Movie Club, episode 5. Um, we talked about Elvis, Rocketman, Bohemian Rhapsody, Blade Runner, and Blade Runner 2049. If you've seen these movies, let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you agree with my opinions or not. Um, I bet a lot of you will not. um, and yeah, I'm thinking I might not stream Movie Club next week. I know, very surprising, very disappointing. Um, the main reason is that I have not watched a lot of movies lately. I'm kind of running out of movies to talk about, probably because been trying to talk about um, multiple new movies every week, plus older movies that I have seen recently. Um, so I feel like if I keep streaming this every single week, I'm gonna not have anything to talk about. I could talk about like older movies that I've seen a lot, like I've seen Star Wars a ton of times, Marvel a ton of times, Indiana Jones, Pirates of the Caribbean. I could talk about any of that, but I kind of want to wait until I get more followers, if I get more followers, so I can have like a larger audience while talking about these bigger franchises. Um, so I don't know. I think I might not stream Movie Club next week, but I will still stream Thursday. I might do another Minecraft stream. There's this new server I joined that's going to be opening up soon. I think that's actually opening day next Thursday, so I might be streaming on there. Um, but yeah, probably won't do movies next week, but I will come back in 2 weeks with more movies to talk about. Thinking about watching some new movies. Not a lot of new good movies coming out these days. Like recently, I think I want to watch Beast, the new Idris Elba movie about the lion. So I might see that and talk about that in 2 weeks. Maybe the new um, there's this new movie on Paramount Plus called Secret Headquarters or something that looks relatively interesting. So maybe I'll watch that and talk about that. And then I'll probably talk about some other movies that I have watched recently. Maybe Phineas and Ferb. I don't know. Um, so yeah, I hope you are not all too upset that I am not going to be doing movies next week. I know you guys aren't. Nobody really cares that much. Just kidding. I'm really close to affiliate though. 47 followers last I checked, so I'm hoping hoping to get 50 soon. I'm excited. Anyway, um, anyway, I just said anyway twice. That's awkward. This Tuesday, I'm going to be streaming Minecraft again on the Radish SMP, and then Thursday probably also some more Minecraft. So if you want to see me some more, follow me on Twitch or YouTube or Instagram, all the username Radishologist. And tune in Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern, where I will be playing Minecraft. If you only are here for movies, then I'll see you in 2 weeks, um, where we'll talk about some more movies. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed. Um, Make sure to follow, subscribe, all of that. Radish out. Sorry, I did not like that outro. I'm still trying out new intros and outros. Still haven't found anything I liked. Anyway, see you guys next time.